Hello, I'm Deacon Jeff. Happy Friday. I'm willing to bet that many of you probably had the similar experience to what I had as a young lad in Catholic school, when probably preparing for First Communion or First Confession, the nuns told us, your body is a temple of the Lord. And as a second or third grader, I'm sure that my response was something like, huh? I had no idea what that meant. Now, of course, I've come to learn that it is actually a quote from St. Paul's letter to the Corinthians. But as a kid, I heard that phrase used and misused so many different ways that I had no idea what it meant. Growing up in the 70s during the Jane Fonda workout craze, the crazy fitness nuts time, people would say that, and meaning, you got to stay in great shape, you got to be fit. And the problem with that was it kind of led to a little bit of self worship, like it's all about me, it's not about God. And then, of course, there were the one-liners that have now, in the internet age have become known as memes, using that phrase. One that is becoming more and more fitting for me as I get up each morning as I get older and hear the joints creaking and cracking. My body is a temple of the Lord, ancient and crumbling. Hopefully not quite ancient and crumbling yet, but getting there. And then, of course, as we're approaching Thanksgiving, one that kind of becomes really relevant, I think, goes something like, your body may be a temple, but I have the body of a God. Too bad it's Buddha. As we approach that buffet for the third time, thinking to ourselves, I can't eat another bite. Ooh, pie! We might want to think about that. Of course, we now recognize that the phrase actually means that we need to strive to not let unclean things enter our bodies, just like a temple. We need to try and keep things holy. And, Thanksgiving is a perfect opportunity for putting a lot of stuff in ourselves that maybe we don't need to do. Thanksgiving is, of course, the traditional beginning of the holiday season here in the United States. That word holiday has kind of got a bad rap lately, and it shouldn't, because it is a thoroughly Catholic word. It originated in England in the 12th century, around the time that St. Thomas of Becket was the Archbishop of Canterbury. And it is very likely that St. Thomas of Becket at this time of year would walk through the streets of Canterbury and nod to people and say, Blide Helligdag, which means happy holidays. But that word, Helligdag, means holy days. And traditionally for us Catholics, it means much more than just Merry Christmas. We celebrate during this time of year an entire season of holidays, holy days, starting with being able to wish people a happy Immaculate Conception in the beginning of the second week of December. And then, of course, moving on into that next week, being able to wish people a Feliz Nuestro Mujer de Guadalupe, a feast of Our Lady of Guadalupe, or a Bueno Santa Lucia, happy St. Lucy's Day. And then, of course, moving right along through Christmas and past Christmas to the Feast of the Holy Innocents, and the Feast of the Holy Mother of God at the end of December, the Feast of the Holy Family. Happy Holy Family Day. It's perfectly appropriate to wish people a blessed Epiphany, and then, of course, finally, a joyous baptism of the Lord on that first Sunday after the Epiphany in January. For we Catholics, this holiday season is more than just Christmas. It goes all the way through that beginning of the second week in January. Now, coincidentally, some other faith traditions also celebrate days that are holy to them during this holiday, holy day season. And we hear actually in our readings for Mass today, the first celebration of one of those ancient Jewish holy days, the Feast of Hanukkah. On Hanukkah, the Jewish people celebrate the Feast of Lights. It commemorates the rededication of the temple in Jerusalem, when Judah Maccabee and his four brothers and their followers had defeated the armies of the Seleucid Empire, a kind of a leftover spur of the great empire of Alexander the Great, basically Greeks. And they had taken over the temple, they had defiled it, they had taken out the Jewish holy items and put Greek figures and unclean, unholy things in the temple. And for the Jews of the Maccabees' day, around 150 BC, the temple was the holy place. It was where God dwelt. It was always to be kept undefiled, always free of unclean things, holy. It was consecrated to God. And they threw out all the Jewish gods. They cleansed the temple. They relit the oil lamps. They only had enough oil for one day, but they burned for 8 days, the feast of Hanukkah, until the priests could return to Jerusalem and reconsecrate the temple. And in our gospel reading for today, we hear about how important the temple was too to Jesus himself. Jesus was a Jew, remember, and he says in our gospel reading today that it is the house of his Father, a place of prayer. He's meaning that it's meant to be a place that's kept clean, undefiled, holy, consecrated, dedicated to God. And he throws out those money changers, those merchants who are defiling the temple, making it unholy. And even still today now, we know that our temples, our churches, our buildings are still pretty important places, because in every tabernacle, in every Catholic church in the world, there resides the real presence of Jesus Christ, the second person of the Trinity, God himself. But the difference today is now, Jesus doesn't just stay in the temple. God doesn't only dwell in the temple. We now receive him and take him with us when we receive the Eucharist. We literally receive God into our bodies. And realizing that, suddenly those words of those nuns in second grade start to take on a whole new meaning, that our bodies are temples of God. And we need to strive, just like the Maccabees did, just like Jesus did, to keep them free of everything that's unclean, undefiled, to make them as holy as possible. And we can start during this holiday season, this holy day season, by availing ourselves of the sacrament of reconciliation to clean out our temples. And only then can we really wish everyone during this time of holy days, happy holidays, happy holy days.